In this video I will talk about termites. Social insects are species of insects that live in colonies and manifest three characteristics: group integration, division of labor, and overlap of generations. Social insects are best exemplified by termites, ants, various honeybees, and wasps. While termites first emerged from the group of cockroaches around 150 million years ago, ants and other social insects, including bees, only appeared 50 million years later, so it's 100 million years ago. Termites evolved from wood-eating cockroaches, and like ants, some bees, and wasps, termites can be divided to workers and soldiers that are usually sterile. And all colonies have fertile males called kings and one or more fertile females called queens. Okay, what I would say, this video is long, so to save your time, I recommend to download the presentation. The link is in the description to this video. And then some conclusion from this research is that termites are very different from other social insects. A termite queen can live much longer than a bee queen or queen of ants. Interesting also that termite colony in the termite colony there are so-called secondary queens that are actually clones of the primary one that established the colony. Only termites of the worker caste can eat and chew wood. They feed by a blend of the semi-digested wood particles with saliva secret to soldiers and young nymphs of all castes. But the primary and secondary queens get saliva secret without wood particles, and they cannot digest wood. It looks like presence of wood particles in food shortens lifespan of termites from lower castes. Okay, so this is again my conclusion that any presence of plant food is shortening lifespan of insects. So here we can see the castes of the termites. We see the queen, primary queen, and primary king. They established the colony, and then they produced first workers, and then workers, number of workers, they start to increase, and the workers start to feed primary queen and primary king, because at first primary king and primary queen can digest wood, but as workers start to feed them with saliva secret, then they lose this ability to digest wood, and they start to live, and because of this they don't get any wood particles. They live much longer than any other that's a soldier or worker. When a colony gets very big, then it is producing so-called elates. Elates, it is reproductive insects. They fly and they establish new colony, both female and male, and also some secondary queen appears. But what is interesting, secondary queens, they fed by workers only with saliva, so they cannot digest wood. So okay, let's go. Most worker and soldier termites are completely blind as they do not have a pair of eyes. The elates, so this is winged males and females, have eyes along with lateral ocelli. It's like antenna. Workers may be male or female and are usually sterile, especially in termites that have a nest site separated from their foraging site. Worker termites undertake the most labor within the colony, being responsible for foraging, food storage, as well as for brood and nest maintenance. Unlike ants, which undergo a complete metamorphosis, each individual termite goes through an incomplete metamorphosis that proceeds through eggs, nymph, and adult stages. Colonies are described as superorganisms because the termites form a self-regulating entity, the colony itself. So reproductives can live for incredibly long time. Like queens are even known to live longer than 25 years and up to 50 years if they have the perfect conditions, whereas the male tend to live up to 7 years. Workers and soldiers may live 2 to 5 years. Elevate. These are winged members of the colony. They will soon fly off in search of a partner to create a new colony. De-elevate. De-elevate termites is one that has shed its wings. This is generally a sign that they have found a partner and they are now in the process of creating a whole new colony. Termite social castes, these reproductives, sterile workers, and sterile soldiers, usually contain members of both sexes in equal numbers, and both males and females develop from fertilized eggs. Reproductive males develop by parthenogenesis from unfertilized eggs. The thorax in the termites is joined broadly to the abdomen without the waist characteristic of bees, ants, and wasps. Termites have two parts of membranous wings, the reproductives, nearly equal in size that break along the suture when shed and leaving only the wing base or scale attached to the thorax. This is probably the most distinguishing characteristic of Isopterans. So the Isopterans are the termites. Mechanism controlling differentiation of termites in the castes are not understood fully. It is known that all nymphs are genetically identical at hatching, and that all could develop into any of the three major castes. The number of individuals in each caste is in a colony is closely regulated. Normally, there are one pair of reproductives and set ratio of soldiers to workers and nymphs. So the ratio of soldiers to workers is established. If members of any caste are lost, additional members of that caste develop from nymphs to restore the balance. Consequently, if overproduction of one caste occurs, selective cannibalism restores the balance. Selective cannibalism that workers will kill and eat some young nymphs which are already excessive. Okay, here we see again, so the reproductive termites, the founders of the colony, they produce eggs. Then from eggs they are getting larva. Larva is the size about the same as egg, and then it grows and it is turned into a nymph. And the nymph can get to any of these castes: worker, soldier, and reproductive. Any. So it depends who they will be. It depends on food. But they are genetically identical. All these nymphs are genetically identical. And eventually, when weather is allows, they produce also elate. Elate, it is the insect with wings, both female and male, and they can fly away, and they can again establish a new colony, and then this repeats. Okay, here we see the picture, photo of the nymph, worker. Nymph is growing, and then at last we have adult worker and adult soldier. Only about 10-15% of colonies are made up of soldiers. The soldier caste has an anatomical and behavioral specialization, and their sole purpose is to defend the colony. Many soldiers have large heads with highly modified powerful jars, so enlarged that they cannot feed themselves. Instead, like juveniles, like nymphs, they are fed by workers. Food transferred by mouth may consist of either pasta-like regurgitated chewed wood and saliva, or clear liquid, so clear secret of the saliva gland. This method is used in all termite families. During anal feeding, present only among lower termites. A pasta-like liquid or droplet is discharged from the anus of the worker and licked away by the dependent casters. This liquid food, distinct from feces, consists of hindgut fluid containing protozoans, product of digestion, and wood fragments. Cellulose is the food source for workers. The ability of termites to degrade lignant cellulose is more efficient than the digestion of less lignified forage grasses in ruminants. The high alkalinity in termite gut segments may act as an alkaline pre-treatment to facilitate subsequent lignin degradation by enzymes. Also, the family of the Termidae and other termite families produce their own enzymes, the so-called endogenous cellulases. Their ability to decompose wood or soil organic matter largely depends on symbiosis with mutualistic gut microbes. The mutualistic gut microbes include bacteria, archaea, and in the case of lower termites, cellulolytic flagellates, a special bacterium. The termite guts consist of one to several compartments, which harbor predominantly bacteria, protists, some archaeal species, few species of fungi, and bacteriophages, which live in mutualistic relationship and provide nutrition by degrading the tough plant biomass. These microbiomes convert the cellulose and hemicellulose into long-chain fatty acid to be later converted to the short-chain fatty acid, which is finally absorbed by termites. Digestive enzymes play an essential role in the termite's gut for converting the cellulose or other plant parts into nutrients. So you can check the original publication. Okay, here we see the picture of the digestive path of the termites, and we see here also salivary gland, yeah, and then we have foregut here, and then midgut here, and hindgut. Hindgut, it is the place where all this bacteria and fungi and archaea and develop, and also bacteriophages. So it is again, they digest wood, and they produce this first long chain fatty acids and then short chain fatty acids, and then these short chain fatty acids are used as source of energy. So, and of course, termites, they have own enzymes to digest cellulose, but not enough, and bacteria make it frozen, digest it frozen. The wood-feeding termites without the flagellates are not capable to digest the wood, which is poor in nitrogen and nutrients. Flagellates release glucose into the cytoplasm, and this glucose is transformed into pyruvate and into pyruvate, and the pyruvate then enters into the hydrogenosomes in paraballasis. Okay, sorry, I just copied from publications, from scientific publications, and this sounds a little bit too scientific, and I don't know even sometimes how to pronounce it. Okay, higher termites depend mainly on the bacterial communities for digestion of food, because protists are harbored in lower termites only. Termites' gut contain approximately 15 phyla of bacteria, 50 different phylas of bacteria, which are more than bacterial diversity found in humans and animal intestine. So they're really very diverse. In lower termites, bacterial diversity shows symbiotic association with eukaryotic flagellates, while in the higher termites they show symbiotic association with fungal species. Spirochetes are almost absent in fungus-growing termites gut, whereas in other high termites they are involved in fiber hydrolysis and fermentation and homoacetogenesis and nitrogen fixation. Okay, here. Then structure of the nest, you see that the nest is made of pieces of wood and with saliva, so it is like cement. Saliva works like cement. Cellulose digestion in lower termite families depends upon symbiotic flagellate protozoa, which live anaerobically, so without oxygen, in the termite hingut and secrete enzymes which are cellulase and cellobiase that break down cellulose into simple sugar and acetic acid. The termites depend entirely on protozoans for cellulose digestion and would starve without them. Newly hatched nymphs acquire protozoa from older infested termites during anal feeding, a type of feeding necessary to lower termites that harbor protozoans. Since the protozoans are lost at the time of each molt, then they are reacquired only through anal feeding. Termites live in groups, and therefore termites live in groups that allow contact of molting nymphs with infected non-molting individuals. As for other social insects, not all members of termite colony feed directly, because reproductive soldiers and young nymphs in lower families and also all nymphs in family Termitidae cannot feed themselves directly. They must be fed by workers. Workers or in families without them, the older nymphs feed the entire colony and transfer food to dependent casters, either by mouth feeding or by anal feeding. Food transferred by mouth may consist of either pasta-like regurgitated chewed wood and saliva or clear liquid. I was already mentioned it. This method is used in all termite families. During anal feeding, present only among lower termites, a pasta-like liquid or droplet is discharged from the anus of the worker and licked away by the dependent casters. This liquid food, distinct from feces, consists of hindguard fluid containing protozoans, product of digestion, and wood fragments. Somehow, I repeat this slide twice. Since the anaerobic protozoans, which are necessary for cellulose digestion, and live in the hindguts of primitive termites, cannot tolerate high concentration of oxygen, these termites have developed a tolerance for high concentration of carbon dioxide. In some species, this may be as high as, as low concentration as, as high as 3% of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So really high, because normally it is 400 parts per million. However, ventilation must occur in the nest, and it is often facilitated by nest architecture. Generally, the outer wall is constructed of hard soil material, distinct from the internal central portion or nursery, which is composed of softer carton material. Termites require vitamins and nitrogenous food, like proteins, which probably are supplied by fungi, normally present in the decayed wood diet common to most termites. The fungi also may break down wood into components that are easily digested by termites. In addition, one of these 8 subfamilies of Termitidae, exactly Marta Termitidae, is associated with cellulosic fungus Termiticides. They cultivate inside their nest. The cellulolytic fungilates of termites are typically found nowhere else than in termite guts and are essentially transmitted across host generations. Similarly, many prokaryotes present in termite guts are found nowhere else in nature. In addition to the production of enzymes involved in lignocellulose digestion, gut microbes have numerous nutritional functions, including nitrogen fixation and nitrogen recycling abilities that supplement the nitrogen poor diet of the host. Okay, this was this year publications. Colonies of fungus grow in termites and termites and ants are among the most impressive animal phenomena in the world. They can have nest volumes of thousands of liters, may persist for decades, and contain millions of sterile workers, which are normally the offspring of a single queen. The agricultural symbiosis with fungi has allowed both the ants and termites to occupy previously inaccessible niches that have abundant resources. The phylogenetically most derived genera of the Arctine ants have become dominant herbivores of the New World tropics, and analogously, the fungus-growing termites have become major decomposers of the Old World tropics and form perhaps the most complex colony and mound structures of any insect in the invertebrates group. We see a photo of the termite mound. It is such a mound is mostly in Africa. You can find, and here's how ventilation is organized. So it is so air is hot air getting out at the top of this mound, and then there is good ventilation. In fungus cultivating group, a large fungal garden is formed by termites workers in their nest, which provides sufficient enzymes for cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignocellulose digestion. Fungal diversity helps in breakdown of cellulose, hemicellulose, lignin, and production of lacase in termites' gut. Termites' gut, this is a microhabitat, is a reservoir of various microbial communities diversity. All the microbial communities in termites' gut does not behave as a parasite, but act as a true symbionts. Molecular studies have proven the bacterial diversity is paramount diversity in higher termites' gut, whereas in lower termites, flagellates occupies the maximum portion. Termites convert plant hard biomass into biofuel with the help of gut microbes and their enzymes. The enzymes present in termite gut show higher enzymatic activity at higher pH range, so it's alkaline range in workers and soldiers. Due to the different eating habits of workers and soldiers, the gut enzymes show highest enzymatic activity at different pH. The two main symbioses of social insect with fungi are similar in many respects, but they differ in others. The fungal symbionts of the Arctine ants rarely fruit and are normally propagated clonally and vertically by dispersing queens. In contrast, the symbionts of Termitinea often produce sexual fruiting bodies, such that horizontal association of symbionts have been inferred to be the rule, although the exceptions do occur. Symbiotic relationships have had an essential role in termite evolution and involve a range of intestinal microorganisms, including protists, mesonogenic archaea, and bacteria. The fungus helps the termites to degrade plant-derived material like food, dry grass, and leaf litter on which they live. It grows on a special structure in the nest and a so-called fungus comb maintained by termites through continuous addition of pre-digested plant substrate while the older comb material is consumed. Okay, here's just schematically proposed what kind of material. So first we have this wood coming inside, and we have what is humic acids and lignocellulose, and then it is broken to mono and oligomers, and organic acid and amino acids, and then it is oxidized to carbon dioxide, and also hydrogen can be produced, and acetic acid or acetate, and eventually they produce also methane. Termites construct sponge-like fungus garden or combs, possibly of fecal material rich in the carbohydrate lignin. The fungi grow on the combs, and the termites consume both fungi and combs. The fungi break down the fecal matter used to construct the combs and into substances that can be reutilized by the termites. Nitrogen other than that from fungi is supplied by controlled cannibalism. The termites consume cast-off skins and dead, injured, and excess members of the colony. So we see photo of this fungus growing inside the termite colony, so-called mushroom garden. And here also mushroom garden, a little bit different. And sometimes this mushroom can produce fruiting bodies. So real. This is so-called termite mushrooms. In Thailand, you can get these termite mushrooms. Actually, they are edible. In their development, alouates might consume wood particles as a part of their food source. However, D-alouates that are termite queen and king of new colony are gradually losing protozoa in their guts and rely on feeding by saliva secretion from new workers without wood particles. Meanwhile, soldiers can digest wood, and they get very small pieces of wood from workers together with saliva secret, but they cannot chew the wood as their mandibles grow too big. The intestines of soldiers are smaller, and they harbor fewer protozoa than workers of the same size. Young soldiers can chew wood before their mandibles will grow too big. Unfortunately, there is no information on content of the worker's saliva. I may speculate that it can be close to royal jelly of bees. Also, there is no information on the feeding habits of fungi growing termites. Fungi can be a valuable source of protein for the termite queen. Anyway, as we may see, presence of half-digested digested wood particles in food for soldiers shortens their maximal lifespan about 2 times compared to the termite king, and 20 times compared to the termite queen. I may speculate that this is because plants produce toxins to protect themselves from insects and from fungi. Meanwhile, content of toxins in fruiting bodies of edible fungi is negligible, probably. Okay, so again, not so much information available about termites. So we know only that the food soldiers and workers are getting, it is include wood particles. But for primary queen and and secondary queen, they eventually get a clear fluid with no wood particles in it. So, and they live much longer than the other members of the colony. But alouates, the insects that can fly and organize new and start new colony, they are getting wood particles, and they can digest the wood. So before they get enough number of workers in the colony, they can eat wood. So, okay, then again, I don't provide health consulting, therefore a visitor to my channel is advised to discuss the content of this video with his or her personal physician and only act upon the advice of professional medical experts. And again, before we'll say goodbye. Then thank you for your time. Again, please mind that my conclusion is such that any presence of plant particles in food is shortening lifespan of these termites. So it looks like that if we also may follow the idea that we better avoid any plant-based food in our diet, we probably will extend our longevity only by this. But of course we have other mechanisms that are shortening our lifespan. This is accumulation of so-called zombie cells. It is also the accumulation of so-called advanced glycation end products, and so an accumulation of other kind of junk, because humans are supposed to live longer than 50 years. 50 years, it's not a long term actually. But the difference between longevity of queens and longevity of workers and soldiers is give us a hint that any plant-based food should be avoided if people want to live long. Okay, please comment, subscribe, like, and ask questions and share information. Have a wonderful day.